Hello, we're trying not to forget about our expatriate patients, and many of us come to us and ask questions about COVID vaccination. And so today I'll just try to do my best to answer some of the most frequent questions. Well, first of all, what's available in Kazakhstan? We only have the Russian vector vaccine called Sputnik. The Kazakh made one is not here yet, and they are talking about the Chinese one and maybe later on Pfizer. But at the moment it's just Sputnik, and it's very similar to AstraZeneca vaccine and Johnson & Johnson. And the most pertinent question is, what about the side effects? Deep venous thrombosis. And as you know, on April 13th, Johnson & Johnson was stopped being used in the United States, and they're also investigating AstraZeneca about the blood clots in younger population. So as for Sputnik, we don't have that data yet. The official representatives of the Russian vaccine said that they haven't encountered any clots after Sputnik in Russia and here in Kazakhstan, and I personally haven't encountered any cases of blood clots. But nevertheless, you need to be vigilant if you decide to get Sputnik. Again, these vaccines are made a little bit differently, and the process of purification is could be different, and that might explain why some vaccines have that side effect and some not. And so what would I say? I would encourage you to get Sputnik because the risk of blood clots is very low. I would say that if you're older than 50, the risk of getting into the ICU with severe COVID is 100 times bigger than getting a blood clot. If you're older than 30, the risk of getting to ICU is 10 times higher than getting a blood clot. And I think on average with AstraZeneca and even Johnson & Johnson, that risk is about 1 in a million. But again, with Sputnik we haven't seen that, so I think you can get it. And if you have a visa here in Kazakhstan or permanent residency, then you shouldn't have any problem getting the vaccine in one of the malls like Almaty Mall or now Mega Mall, and at local polyclinics. Lots of my expatriate friends had no trouble getting it. Some of the other questions you ask, what if you have comorbidities like diabetes and high blood pressure, rheumatoid arthritis? Can I get Sputnik? Yes, you can get Sputnik. There is a theoretical risk that certain autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis might get worse, but we haven't seen that in Russia or here. So at least get one, and then we'll see what happens after the first dose. But I would recommend that you get two, but get in touch with your doctor. So at the moment, the only contraindication to Sputnik would be age younger than 18 and severe allergic reaction to the first dose. So you wouldn't know about that unless you get the Sputnik vaccine. Some of you are asking if you're breastfeeding, can you get the vaccine? And the official recommendation is no, unless you're around vulnerable people, or you work in a hospital or at a clinic. And I know that in the UK, lots of women who are breastfeeding or who are pregnant and work in the hospital, they got the AstraZeneca vaccine. But the official recommendation about Sputnik, not to give it to breastfeeding women or pregnant. And if you had COVID, should you get Sputnik? Again, the information that we have, that immunity wanes with time, after 3 or 6 months, and if it's been more than 6 months, then you're eligible to get Sputnik. I mean, nobody would ask you really when you go to one of the places. And just in general, I would say, if you had it in the last 3 months, you probably still have good defense, and by waiting, you're just giving a chance for other people to get the vaccine. But it's not going to hurt your body if you get it even within 3 or 6 months. Um, what happens if you're late for the second dose? You know, the interval is about 21 days, and many people get concerned. Wow, you know, I'm going to be away, or I'm too busy. Well, I would say the longer the better. It was just a political decision to make the interval of 21 days, you know, both with foreign and Russian vaccines. I think later on that recommendation will change to maybe 4 weeks or even 2 months. So if you forgot about the second vaccine, just come later and get it. Not a big deal. Russians are also coming up with the Sputnik Light. It's a vaccine for those who had COVID, that potentially one vaccine would be enough. Because we know that if you had COVID and receive one dose, then the development of antibodies is 10 times higher than in people who didn't have COVID and received 2 vaccines. And again, it's mainly about the distribution of vaccine, to make sure that everybody gets it, especially those who did not have the disease. But if you had the disease and received 2 doses, it's also not a big deal. But Sputnik Light will be just an option, and it's no different vaccine. It's just basically the first dose that contains adenovirus 26 strain. All right, what else? Many of you are told that you're not supposed to take a shower, go to the swimming pool, or go to the sauna, or lift any weights. Yeah, I would say that you can forego these recommendations. It's not going to hurt you if you wet the site of injection, so don't worry about it. I myself had COVID last June and got my first dose about 2 weeks ago. I took a shower, everything was fine. And some of you asked me about the side effects. The only side effect I had was headache. By the way, those who had COVID get a little bit more side effects from the vaccine than those who are disease naive. But again, I only had a headache for 1 day. How well does it help against the mutant strains like the British variant and the South African variant? So we know that Sputnik works excellent against the wild strain, the Chinese one, and we've got data that it disarms the British one pretty good, and it is less effective against the South African, but it still works. And the Russians are saying that it actually works better than Pfizer, Moderna, or AstraZeneca. I don't know if we can trust them. But I would say that the more of us get vaccinated, there will be a few opportunities for newer variants to be developed. If you're having a viral cold, a common cold, when can you get a COVID vaccine? And if you have just very mild URI symptoms, it's not going to hurt your body to get a COVID vaccine, but you might infect other people when you go to the mall or to the polyclinic. So what I would advise that you get fully recovered, wait for about 2 weeks to make sure you don't have any symptoms. What if you decide to get another vaccine like tick-borne encephalitis or tetanus shot? I mean, you're thinking about hiking in the mountains here in Kazakhstan. Can you get COVID vaccine at the same time? So because COVID vaccination is new, we don't know how other vaccines would affect antibody development. So at the moment, the CDC recommends to wait for 2 weeks. So if you get tick-borne encephalitis, wait for 2 weeks before you get COVID, and vice versa. Just to make sure that it doesn't interfere with antibody development. All right, let me see if I've got anything else. Yeah, I mean, if you develop some rash, on your face and your arms, it could be a sign of an allergic reaction, so it's probably best not to get the second one. Another interesting fact that if you had long COVID symptoms, loss of smell for a long time, for 3 or 6 months, and you're still not having it, and you've got some fog in your head, or dizzy spells, there is some anecdotal evidence that people who get the vaccine, get improvement in the symptoms. We don't fully know why, but here you go. You might try the vaccine and as a treatment. All right. Well, I hope I answered some of your common questions, and if you still have questions, then write them on my Instagram account or under the English one. I think it's called like a Family Physician Almighty. Well, if you're gonna watch this video, you'll know where that account is. All right. All the best to you. Stay healthy. Bye bye.